The Chinese legislative branch is a joke. It's really run by the Communist Party. Well, it's a rubber stamp for the Communist Party, at least. So, a lot of this isn't going to be concrete. This is what the legislative branch of China does, not like the other countries that we study in the AP6. So, whereas you're like, well, you're talking a lot about the organization of the Communist Party, Mr. Roman. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So just hang in there, and I'm going to do a little bit of review about the structure and elections of the Communist Party in China, and then move into, in the end, what the legislative branch in China actually does, or the National People's Congress. Okay, parallel hierarchies. It is important to realize that the party structure, the government structure within China is party, the Chinese Communist Party, and the actual state or the government, which is like the National People's Congress, and then the army or the PLA. Okay, so political structure of China, the People's Republic of China can be seen as three parallel hierarchies. They are separate, but they interact with each other, with the CCP or the party being at the top. So I'm going to show you in 1 second. I'm going to show you another chart that will help show you the parallel hierarchies. So it would be like having one company that is the army, and they have a company president, and they have a company vice president, and they have all of the managers that work for the company and all the workers that work for the company. Same thing for the party. The party was a company. They have, the head of the company. They have the board of directors. They have all the managers and the people who work for the company, so on and so forth. But they interact with each other. Don't just always remember that the party is going to be the organization that's pulling the strings in China. So let's talk about the party. The reason why the Communist Party is in control of China is because China's political culture is really centered on this idea of democratic centralism, and it's kind of like statism in Russia. It's this belief that society and the people within China are really best served by a group of party elites, and these elites have a superior understanding of what the Chinese people need. And there's so many people in China that these party elites are the ones that can take care of you. Just trust in them. This is a review of the hierarchical structure. So remember, you vote at the village or the township level, or then you become that person who you voted for at the village or township level moves on to pick somebody at the county level, who goes on to pick somebody at the province or this what we would call the state level, and then moves on to the national level. The head of the party is the general secretary, okay, and the general secretary is serves concurrently as the president of China, and as the chairman of the Central Military Commission, and the president of the National People's Congress. So Xi Jinping is the president of all three of these particular political structures. So we're going to talk more about that too when we talk about the executive in China. So here are your hierarchical organizations, your three political structures that are separate but interconnected, with the Communist Party being central. Okay, so you have the the general secretary. Okay, the general secretary is also a head of the military and also is the president. Okay, they are picked by the standing committee, and the leaders of the Communist Party. Now, coming right back down here, you have your primary party organizations and your village councils. Remember, these people go on to elect the local level people's congresses. And then the local level people's congresses go on to pick the provincial people's congresses, and the provincial would be like our states. And then they go on to select people to serve in the National People's Congress. And the National People's Congress is the legislative branch, basically, of the Chinese government. So you can see that there's a direct connection between the party and the legislative or the state and government because they are interconnected. The Politburo. The Politburo, again, these are people who are chosen by the Central Committee. So there you go. Central Committee moves on to choose these party leaders. They're the people that are going to get to dictate government policies in China. There are about 25 people who serve as the elite party leaders, which is crazy considering the vast population of China and that there are so many people that live in China. It's being the most populous country in the world. This small political bureau or Politburo is the group that's going to dictate all of the policy platforms of this massive country with this huge growing GDP. And these are party leaders. Then you have the Standing Committee. This is an even smaller cadre of people. This is the most powerful political organization in China. There are 7 members, and they tend to be the same members from year to year. So, like, the Standing Committee chosen at the 15th Party Congress in 1997 included Hu Jintao. The Standing Committee chosen the Standing Committee in 2002. 5 years later, included Hu Jintao. The Standing Committee 5 years later, in 2007, included Hu Jintao, Xi Jinping, and then the Standing Committee in 2012 included Xi Jinping. So you have a lot of overlap of who's actually in the Standing Committee. So these people are going to be the top leaders that actually work and live in this huge compound in the center of Beijing. Yeah, and they control everything, and it's very secretive. The General Secretary is chosen from the Standing Committee, and this becomes the head of the Chinese Communist Party. These people are very educated. They're considered technocrats. They have very technical, specific education in government policy. They aren't the kind of people that you could just sit down and have a cup of tea with and chit-chat it up. They are basically born and bred to run the country. Okay, so the National Legislature, I'm going to roll back to this. Okay, so what I was talking about is the Communist Party. Okay, so again, here are your elite cadre of people that are going to run the country in secret. So there's 25 members of the Politburo. There are 7 members of the Standing Committee, and there's 1 general secretary who comes from the Standing Committee. Okay. They are going to be the ones that are dictating all of the policy for China. So what the state or the government does isn't legislate. They don't create policy. The party creates policy. But let's talk about the legislative branch anyway. It's the National People's Congress. This is kind of a farce because remember, these people get their positions because they're chosen at the village council by people, the actual elections, and then the people who are chosen at the village council go on to choose people for the local level congresses, who go on to choose people for the provincial or state level congresses, who go on to choose people for the National People's Congress. So really, the fact that it's called the People's Congress is kind of a farce, because the people are so indirectly connected to this group of people that are making or serving in their legislative branch. The formal authority of government to rule on the people's behalf, that is what the technical job is. for the National People's Congress. Meets once a year, and here's the thing, this is what makes them super weak and not really a major player in the Chinese political system. There's 3,000 people who serve on the National People's Congress. They're called deputies. They serve for 5 years. They're chosen from the lower people's congresses, so again, they're chosen by the provincial people's congresses. They have very limited power. They get to choose the president and the vice president, but they're told which candidate they can pick by the party. So the CCP tells them, here, this is the person you can choose to be president. That's it. So they really don't have a choice. This is an official rubber stamp. They just confirm the decisions that are made by party leaders in the previous year. So if the Politburo and the Standing Committee say, we are going to increase the Army and the military and the Navy by this much, we're going to decrease the value of our currency by this much, and they say that in 2016, in 2017, the National People's Congress is presented with this information, and they have to say, okay, and then they just make a formal announcement that it is the policy of China to increase the military, increase the Navy, and decrease the value of the currency. So when this is underlined, kind of sarcasm, because it's really not a voice of the people, it's just a rubber stamp for the Communist Party of China. But again, going back, the people of China, it's kind of what their political culture is all about, because it is democratic centralism, this idea that the party elites know what's best.